Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be the first update of the new year for Project Level Up and No Pan Left Behind. I have combined these two projects into one video because I like having slightly more freedom to choose which palettes I'm going to be using for Project Level Up. So Project Level Up was created a couple of years ago by Sophie Alexandra, and I love watching this project so much, and this year is me recommitting to this project and I want it to be my main eyeshadow focus for the year. I really do want to see more pans in my collection. In this project for level 1, you randomize a palette, use every shade in that palette one time and hit one pan. For level 2, you use every shade in the palette 2 times and hit 2 pans, etc. I want to have 5 palettes in this video, these two projects together. I'm stumbling over my words, and I am not refreshing this project for the new year. I'm just going to keep it rolling. I have not been good at updating this project monthly, and I definitely want to get back to that. And like I said, this is my recommitment to this project pan, and it is going to be my main eyeshadow focus for the year. So I don't have the best progress to share with you update-wise, but I really hope to have an amazing update next month and then going forward. I actually have 6 palettes to share with you today because one was a trio and I wanted a few more eyeshadows to play with. Turns out I really didn't need to do that, but I'm actually this time going to start with Project Level Up, give you my update for my level 1 and level 2 palettes, and then I will do No Pan Left Behind, and we do have some rollouts. We'll be rolling in a palette or two at the end of today's video. I also this year want to take better close-up and B-roll footage for my videos, so that will be a change going forward in this project as well. My level 1 palette is the Oden's Eye Hella palette in collaboration with Angelica Nyqvist. This has been in for quite a few months now. I will insert a picture of what it looked like last time I showed you and what it's looking like today. So I'm hoping that you are able to see that there is quite the dip going on in my focus shade. Many months ago, I reached the goal of using every single shade in this palette one time, and lately I have only been focusing and using double-sided down here. I have now used this shade 18 times in this project and do have a good dip going. My number 1 focus for this coming month is to have pan showing in this eyeshadow. I also want to incorporate a pan or 30 use stipulation in this project. I do feel confident I can hit pan in this shadow in particular, but ongoing in the future, especially some of my palettes have really dense matte shades, I want to have the ability to roll it out after 30 uses. But this shade is at 18 uses. There is a dip happening in here. Today I have this shadow all over my lid. I've done this look I think 3 times now and really enjoy how it looks with a red lip and getting use out of another shade I'm about to show you. But usually I'm using this just on the inner corner or to tap a little bit of this multi-dimensional shimmer on top of an eye look. So I'm typically not using a lot of the shadow with every use, but I will have pan in this next month. It is my number 1 focus. My level 2 palette is the ColourPop Semi Precious palette, which I have actually depotted into this Z palette here. The goal here is to use every shade 2 times and hit 2 pans. I will insert a picture of what this palette looked like last time and what this palette is looking like today. So there are going to be quite a number of changes in this palette. First of all, I have not used every shade 2 times yet. This palette has not been my focus. I have met the 2 use goal on shade number 1, 3, and 4. The only shadow I have not used at all yet is shade number 2, this silvery blue shade. The two shades I'm focusing on are shade number 3, this red shimmer, which has a huge dip in it now, and this rose gold shade down here. So let me back up a little bit and go shade by shade. I've used shade number 1 2 times. As I said, that is a gold matte. Have not used this shade at all. I need to use it 2 times, and I do hope to complete the usage at minimum for the next update. One of my focus shadows here, this red, I have used 8 times. This had quite a big crack in it from depotting it, so I've been focusing in that crack, but I hope you can see I've widened the crack as well. I have been getting a lot of use out of this shadow, and I feel pretty confident about hitting pan in this, even though these pans are extremely deep. The next 2 shades here I will actually be decluttering. I used shade 4 2 times and shade 5 only once. They were super lackluster, really dried out, and honestly muddied up my look. The other shadows I have used in this palette so far did not feel like that. Like these 2, I am very confident have actually expired. So both of these pans of eyeshadow will be completely decluttered from my collection. They just do not perform well anymore. I've used shade number 6, this mossy light green shade, 1 time. I've only used this rose gold shade 1 time as well. I've really been focusing on this red, but this is the other shade I do hope to hit pan on, or at least meet that 30 use goal. And then I've only used this like chartreuse kind of shimmer 1 time as well. So I already told you that my level 1 palette is for sure my focus for next month. I really want pan in that. But the shade Double Sided goes really well with this red shimmer. I like combining them together like I did today. This red is what I created my wing with and also have it underneath my lower lash line. You've also seen me wear quite a lot of like really dark pink or reddish leaning looks over the last month, and I have been using this shade for those. So while this is not going to be my focus for Project Level Up, I do at minimum want my 2 uses per eyeshadow complete. So I need to use the light blue 2 times, the light green once, and both of these shades 1 time more before the next update. Moving on to No Pan Left Behind, I have 4 palettes in this section. I do want to drop it down to 3, but I rolled in a 4th one because one of them was a trio. The additional palette I rolled in was my ColourPop Smoke and Roses Mega Palette, and unfortunately I haven't reached for this at all. Even though I've wanted to, I've just been focused on other things, but this is a great palette to be using for the next month or 2, and I will definitely be getting a lot of use out of this going forward, but there is no usage on this, but I will do a quick clip of what it's looking like right now. The palette that's been in No Pan Left Behind for the longest is my Ace Beauté Nostalgia palette. This has been kind of challenging for me to reach for, and what it looks like today, I do have 4 shades I still need to reach for, but because this palette is so bright, so summery, I find I'm only able to reach in for 1 or 2 shades at a time, and like mixing it with some of my more grungy or darker palettes to ground this a little bit for the fall winter months. There are only 2 shades I've used 2 times each, which are these 2, this yellowy gold shimmer and the really warm brown. Everything else I have not used at all, or only used the 1 time necessary. I'm just going to let you know which shades I still need to use. Also, I'm really bad at taking pictures of my makeup. Is that something that you really care about in this style of video? I personally don't care whether it's included or not when I watch other people, but if you would like for me to be more mindful of the looks I'm creating with the palettes in this project, let me know and I will try to do better about taking pictures of my looks. I do almost always share my makeup on Instagram though, in my stories. The shades I still have left to use. I must have like a cat hair or something stuck in my foundation because right here is very itchy. Sorry if that's distracting. I need to use Theme Park, this very vibrant aqua shade. I need to use Heat, which is this very bright pink shimmer. I'm quite surprised I haven't reached for that. I also need to reach for Picnic, which is a hot pink matte. I think I'm going to mix these two pink shades with my ColourPop Smoke and Roses to amp up the color intensity of a pink look as we come into February. And then the fourth shade I still need to use is Flip Flops, which is this very bright magenta shade. But I have used all other shades. I really have enjoyed reaching into this. I just wish it was rolled in the spring or summer. Two more palettes to share with you that were in my No Pan Left Behind, and they are both complete. I will be rolling both of them out. The first is my Wet n Wild Walking on Eggshells Trio. This was obviously super easy to use just one time and use all three of the shades. I do have two pans in this palette and would like to hit pan in the center crease shade at some point, but not right now. I used all three of these shades one time, completed, no pan left behind on this. And the last palette is my Fantasy Cosmetica Warlock palette. I am an affiliate for Fantasy Cosmetica. I will link my discount code down below. If you shop through my affiliate links, I thank you so much for supporting my channel in that way. I created two absolutely stunning looks with this palette. I was so pleased with the looks I created. Again, I did share those on Instagram, and I might have even filmed videos those 2 days, but I can't say for sure. So I used all 9 shades within 2 makeup looks. I had a fantastic time. The only shades, there's 2 shades that I don't think are quite up to the Fantasy Cosmetica quality that I am used to in terms of their mattes. Profane, I was not able to get as bright and vibrant as it appears in the pan. Even when swatching it, it feels very hard pressed and quite thin, and I'm not really used to that with my Fantasy Cosmetica shimmers. One that feels better upon a swatch is Eldritch, but I did have a little bit of trouble blending this shadow out. It is a very deep, like purpley navy kind of shade, and I had a little bit of trouble blending. Now it is a very dark shadow, and at first I thought it was just that it was very dark and I was having a little bit of trouble, but I used Occult here, which is like an almost black green shade. It's almost black, but it definitely has a green undertone to it, and I didn't have any trouble with this Occult shade, which is also a very deep matte. I really liked how Pact and Power blended out the other 2 mattes in this palette, and the shimmers were multi-dimensional, creamy, and beautiful. So I really enjoyed my time with this, but it's certainly not my favorite Fantasy Cosmetica palette. That's my mini review of this palette, and it will also be rolling out. So I will be rolling out 2 palettes, but only rolling in 1 so that I have 5 palettes in my project. I have my Tiny Decisions wheel here ready to go. I don't remember how long exactly I've been doing this project, but it has not been a full year yet. So if I've already rolled in a palette into this project, I will be re-rolling. And also if the palette is currently in another project pan, I will re-roll for that as well. But let's... My miscellaneous singles. That is going to be so hard. For this, I meant like all of my individual eyeshadows because I don't use those very often as well. All of my like singular potted shades. Oh, it's gonna be so tricky to do No Pan Left Behind, but also it's also a good thing because I have not been using them at all. Oh boy, I'm gonna go grab my little bin of singles and I'll be right back. Alright, so I have 13 individual single type eyeshadow products that I found in my very quick search. I will look at my makeup inventory to see if I'm missing any. These are not magnetic singles, but like individually packaged eyeshadows. So I just need to have a quick look through my inventory because my makeup's packed up in boxes. So it was kind of hard to determine if I have every single one, but I'm just going to share them with you quickly. I need to use all of these one time each. This is a fantastic idea. I was kind of disappointed it wasn't a palette, but I have severely neglected this bin of products and I may discover a few that have expired, similar to my ColourPop Semi Precious palette. So I am including two of my only two liquid eyeshadows that I have left in my collection. I will say my ColourPop Super Shock shadows are not in here because I do have those listed as something else in my wheel. But I have the ColourPop Supernova eyeshadow in the shade Constellation and the Ciate London Eye Luster in the shade Cupid. I grabbed my MAC pigment in the shade Tan. A new product I haven't shared with you yet is from Surratt. This is one of their Souffle eyeshadows in the shade Gris Deux. Artiste eyeshadow from Absolute New York in the shade VIP. Urban Decay Sin. A Pixie Duo in Apricot Glow. An Hourglass Scattered Light Glitter eyeshadow in the shade Foil. The Body Shop Color Crush eyeshadow in the shade Melt My Heart. The L'Oreal Infallible in Hourglass Beige. And lastly, three NYX Prismatic shadows. I have Girl Talk, Bedroom Eyes, and Mermaid. Maybe I can make some cuts. I'll be using this as a bit of a chopping block. If I absolutely hate something, I can maybe declutter it or throw it in the trash depending on its age. So this will be good. So these are being added into this project pan. And just a quick recap, for the next update, I want my level 1 palette to be complete and this palette to be completed, no pan left behind. And maybe I will want to use like at least 5 of those single shadows. Is that a reasonable goal for me? I'm not really sure. But that is everything for my Project Level Up and No Pan Left Behind project pan update. Let me know how you're feeling about your eyeshadow panning projects for 2024 in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!